This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you drive long haul, short haul, or heavy haul, they're here to empower and inspire women in the trades on tncradio.live. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show that works to inspire and empower women in trucking, in the trades, and every profession. We tackle all kinds of topics and work to encourage women to be their very best with informative guests and women who've been champions. I'm Shelley, and
I'm Kathy.
No topic is not allowed on our rig. We tackle the tough topics along with the not so tough topics. And we like to feature experts, champions, and celebrities who can assist women in being the very best they can be. Many women have had serious challenges growing up that undermine their goals and intentions, where they go down a path that leads to self-destructive behavior. Overcoming our past and moving forward to positive change is often our biggest battle. The good news is we can find ourselves. Mayara Souza is a woman who's done just that. She had a rough childhood in Brazil with many struggles and family violence that led to an addiction to alcohol. She realized she wanted to change the pattern of dysfunctional behavior that had plagued her family for generations. She chose a new path in her 30s. She became a certified sound therapist and holistic wellness practitioner after a decade of personal healing work and thousands of hours of research on trauma healing, neuroscience, quantum physics, epigenetics, meditation, and sound vibration therapy. She helps thousands of people today. We wanted to learn more about sound vibration therapy and how it can change women's lives, so we invited Mayara on the show. Welcome, Mayara. You have an amazing story to share with us and some great insight. We're excited to have you.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you so much, you guys, for having me. I appreciate the platform.
You're very welcome. You know, I thought we could begin with you telling us how all of this evolved and how you were able to turn around a desperate situation into one of growth and positivity.
Yeah, so the tipping point for me, the beginning of the shift, was that I started drinking very early. As you have mentioned, I believe I was about 12 years old when I already started with alcohol. And pretty soon it became kind of an abusive relationship with alcohol. I was very dependent on it. There was not a lot of structure at home because my father passed away when I was 4, and my mom had to start traveling to be able to raise me and my 2 brothers. So because she wasn't home and there wasn't really the structure of the adult there to kind of guide you through, it was pretty easy for me to join the drinking people and, just started partying very early. And so when I was on my mid-20s, I finally was able to move to the US, and it was huge for me. I always had this thinking that, things were wrong with Brazil, and if I could leave the place where I was, things would change. But it was quite interesting when I was able to leave Brazil and get to the US, but nothing changed, because I got to the US and I started, going to bars and clubs just like I used to do in Brazil. And I met the same kind of people. So life was the same. I was always drinking and feeling pretty miserable. So the tipping point for me where everything started changing was when I was getting closer to my 30, because, getting into the house of the 30s, it scared me, because when my father had his heart attack and passed away, he was 37.
Wow.
And yeah, that's very, very premature, for a heart attack, and especially passing away. It was his first. He never had any heart problem or anything. It was the first heart attack, and he was already gone. So in my subconscious mind, as I was getting close to 30, I started thinking a lot about this stuff. It started coming up for me a lot that, I was kind of following on his footsteps, like his behavior, drinking a lot. And the drinking in my family was bringing a lot of aggression, and, it was just that miserable feeling all the time. So with that fear showing up that I was getting closer to the house of my 30s and, this connection with my dad, what was scary for me was that we hear that these things run in our families, and like we have the genes and then we're going to develop the same stuff. I got very scared and I started researching. I started out of fear. I started researching heart condition and how could I turn things around if there was anything that I could do, because like I said, we are taught that you've got the genes, you are kind of condemned. And I came across epigenetics, and it was just this huge aha moment that the your environment influences of what genes will be turned on and what genes will not. And I was like,
Wow.
well, yeah, wait a second. It brings me a little bit more control over everything, because if I can control my environment somewhat and what I'm being exposed to, I can not turn on those genes that I have inherited from my father. So that was huge. It was a huge moment for me of, transition of like, now how do I do this? If I do have some control over the genes that will be turned on and off, how do I even start changing lifestyle? And that's when everything started. The whole research shifted into, how do you change and get into a healthier, a new lifestyle. And then I came across all these teachers and courses and all this stuff that I did. But the tipping point was pretty much out of fear when I was getting close to 30 years old, that I was going to have the same, same faith as my father.
Isn't it interesting how once we start searching for answers, how fast they come, how it's like the universe opens up because we open the door, the universe suddenly provides it from different avenues. All of a sudden, you took that one step, and unbeknownst to the powers that be, it just, because you tried, because you made that effort, boom, everything comes, right? But you
Yeah.
have to make
Yeah.
the effort. As long as you stay standing there, or I say this a lot, as long as you stay sitting on that couch, not moving, not making an effort, and you're crying and you're miserable, not a single thing will change.
Mm.
But if you get up and you cry the whole way to the door and to the street and to the resources and to find the help that you're looking for, but you're still crying, you'll get the answers you want because you're making the effort.
Mm.
Yeah.
So true.
And it is. It's unbelievable how doors and windows and rooftops open up for you once you start looking.
It really
That
is.
is so true. People say sometimes, like, if you take the first step, the universe will meet you halfway, but you gotta start moving.
You
And Maya,
do. You absolutely do.
and Mayara, you were very fortuitous to look into this, and things like epigenetics. This makes so much sense. I know in psychology they've debated for years nature versus nurture, but this
Mm.
really does prove, especially when you look at identical twins who've been separated at birth with different environments, they may not develop the same type of behavior. This really does prove environment plays a huge role in who we are. And I think it takes some of the blame off of us, because I think when we do self-destructive behavior, don't we kind of blame ourselves?
Oh, big time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing too for us to shift that, and get out of that pattern. Oh my gosh, it takes a lot of work. I was deep into that, the victimhood and, oh my goodness. It's deep, deep ingrained patterning that takes a lot of work to shift. That's for sure.
So the direction you took with sound therapy, I'm reading off your website, it's called biofield tuning.
Mm-hmm.
What is all
Yes.
of that?
Yeah, so as I started the whole research on, now what, like if I can influence my environment and what I'm exposed to, I'm going to influence how the genes are turned on and off. How do you do that? Because I was so addicted to alcohol by then, it was so many years of heavy dependency on it to, just numb the pain and everything. So one of the first things that I noticed, that all of the tools that I would look into, they would say, but you've got to meditate, but you've got to meditate, you've got to meditate. And I was like, gosh, I'm going to have to start meditating. So it was one of the first things that I started doing.
Mhm.
So, and then I'm very, very curious. So I research a lot. Anything and everything that interests me, I will want to know like a whole lot about it. So I started exploring meditation. And you know, it got me to explore a whole bunch of different types of meditation. And I started noticing the underlying same quality in a variety of different types of meditation. That was the sound. You know, there's the mantra that is, you know, either spoken or you just repeat mentally. But there's this whole thing about the sound, the vibration behind all those things, guided meditation, the binaural beats that, you know, people listen to, and all of those things that have to do with sound and vibration. And I did explore some meditation with sacred plants, and also there's the song with the vibration in those type of meditation. So pretty much most of the meditations that I was looking at, there was something related to sound and vibration. And through exploring, you know, go here, go there, like Kathy, you were saying, you know, the doors just start, windows and everything start opening and just stuff showing up. And I believe also that things show up on the right time. You know, when something comes up, it comes when you have already had like been exposed to something else that kind of prepared you to the next thing. So I believe that for me, this was like, it was pretty clear that it was happening in that way. I would be exposed to something and it would prepare me to the next thing. When the next thing would show up, I would be very conscious and prepared to receive that knowledge, that information. So when biofield tuning came into my life, I was already very aware of the power of sound and vibration, especially with intention behind it, how that can affect matter. And it can affect how our cells are working in our bodies. It can affect how our nervous system is, you know, holding on to tension and stress and all of that. So I started looking deeper into it and started doing it, and I got myself certified because I needed to be able to offer that also to the people that I was working with. I was already helping people somewhat in this way of, you know, coaching, and I was studying nutrition to help people to, you know, lose weight and get their health back by changing, you know, the way they eat. And also with the epigenetics, by changing their environment, you know, the things that they were exposed to. Even would work with like music, you know, what kind of lyrics are you hanging around? Because that's all affecting you, affecting your mind, how you think, how you react to the world. And when I discovered this method, it was just like, it fit like a glove in everything else that I was already looking into, that I was already studying and using with my clients. So I got certified and I started working with it. And it's just, what I say is that the more I do it, the more I fall in love with it. It's a fantastic method to really get your body into this profound state of relaxation, that your nervous system releases all the stress and tension and trauma, all the junk that is stored within the nervous system. The nervous system understands this profound relaxation as safety to release everything that's ready to go. It's wonderful.
This is very fascinating.
It is. I went to Tibet in 2018, and the monks had a sound room, and in there, well, they that's where they would hand make those Tibetan bowls, you know, those music ones.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got to sit there for an hour in this sound room, and I had two monks. One would do something with water and energy, and the other one would play the music, but he would spin it all around my I guess my aura, my entire body. And for about 15 minutes they did that nonstop all around me, and I cannot express into words what the high pitch, the vibrations, what that did for me. It's almost like a purifying, a cleansing thing. I can't really put it into words. All I know is that when I walked out of there, I was floating. that's how I felt.
I think you did a great job.
Sure, I think I had an out-of-body experience, I think. I'm pretty sure.
That's a very common thing, actually, that people say. But, you know, I think you did a very great job putting it into words. This cleansing, purifying that you were talking about, that's exactly how we look at it. Like, there's this study that's called cymatics. I don't know if you guys have been exposed to it yet, but it studied exactly that, how sound affects matter. So they put they can put like salt or sand on top of a plate, and they plug a sound, a vibration to the plate, so they can play, classical music, and they can play like hardcore rock and roll and all types of music to see how that sand or salt will vibrate, and it forms shapes on top of the plate. So it's like the vibration from the sound influences matter, and it changes how matter reacts. So that's the same thing that's happening to our bodies. The sound vibration, the frequency, the vibrations from the sound waves that come, that we are exposed to, it's influencing matter, it's influencing our body, it's having a response to it. You can see like a very like low level, easy way to look at this. It's with music. How much you listen to a certain type of music and it affects you. It has a huge effect on you. Some music, some type of songs, we might even cry. Just because we're listening to a song.
Yeah,
Or
power.
the sound of the waves, the ocean.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
As you were saying in our previous segment, sound really does have a huge impact. It really does influence how we feel and the way our bodies feel. And different sounds and frequencies in music influence more than just humans. It influences, I think, all organisms. I wrote an article a few years back, microbes actually that are used in a sewage facility to break down sewage in Germany, believe it or not, they use Mozart's The Magic Flute because it increases the activity and the reproduction of these microbes to break down the sewage. So it encourages them. They get inspired by the music. And they found that particular frequency and the particular melody was the most effective. So it makes sense. So it must be something that is across nature. I know I have a cat who's very sensitive to sound.
Yeah, that's exactly how we look at it. We do sessions on dogs. There are people that are biofield tuning, is specialized in tuning horses. There are people that tune all types of animals, cats, they hang around. I have a little dog that she comes under the table when I'm doing sessions. Either if I have someone in person on my massage table, or if I'm doing a distance session. If I'm doing a distance session, I have a holographic map that I place on my massage table that guides me through the session, because we have this map that shows us what kind of emotion that we store in each area of the body. It's kind of like Chinese medicine, like you hold anger in the liver area. It's pretty similar in some ways. And so it guides us through so we can see what we're working through. My dog likes to come and lay under the table every time I'm working, to be around the forks, to hear the sound. They like it. It's exactly what you said, Shelley. I believe that all organisms that are alive respond to this. People tune plants and they say that they notice that they grow faster than plants that are not being tuned, that are not around this sound, because the sound is so, the frequency is so like in equilibrium. It's such a, what's the word that I'm looking for? It brings everything back into alignment. It's a frequency that's very, very balanced and brings everything back into balance. So even the plants, they notice that they grow faster when they are exposed to the sound.
Have you heard of Sanskrit? There's two twin sisters who grew up in I think in LA. They're from, I forget where, but the Shanti, and they grew up speaking the language, which is scholars have been unable to decipher fully throughout the centuries. And these two sisters started speaking the language at 4, and they have the full language, and they started singing songs, and their music, I think it's called Shanti, when listened to, the vibrations are so high that all house plants grow tenfold, 10 times faster. True
Oh,
story.
Wow.
Sanskrit. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. It's Shanti. Yeah, I think it means peace. And their
Okay.
words of the song, the music it's so beautiful that it elevates the vibrations of everyone around, including all the houseplants,
I love
which is
it.
interesting.
Now, is there in the field of biofield tuning or sound therapy, do we have certain sounds that naturally just are more comfortable for us based on who we are? Or is it something that is a uniform type of frequency that all humans can relate to and it can heal
Mhm.
them?
Yeah, I've had this question before. What I noticed is that the way that they worded the question before was that we use the tuning forks with different frequencies. So each tuning fork that we have, it has a different frequency. And they were asking if each of the frequencies would be for a different something that you were working on. You know, like if you're working on this organ, is this specific frequency, and this other thing, this other frequency. What I have noticed, and I have also talked about this in the community of practitioners of biofield tuning, and we notice it's pretty similar to everybody, it is very personal. Because it's even like if I'm tuning YouTube, for instance, I am part of the session. My observation of the session is affecting the session. If you have someone else tuning you, something else might come up to be tuned. So we check with the body to see which area of the body we are supposed to address in this specific session that we are doing. And each session is different. One session we're going to tune maybe like the head space, the head area. Another session we might tune the heart. And it's all going to the nervous system. So the nervous system is releasing all the stuff that is stored throughout the whole nervous system. But the body asks for one specific area to be, quote unquote, addressed, to be kind of like the doorway for that session for that day. And because it's me tuning the two of you, it has to do with me as well. So if someone else will tune you, some other area of the body might come up. This is another experiment that they have been doing too. I think it's called the double slit or something like that, that shows that the observation of the scientist influences the experiment itself. So because of that, we have noticed that no, there is nothing about this method that is across the board. Every time that you show up for a session, the session is going to be completely different than the other in all ways that you can possibly imagine. So I have a regular client that we laugh a lot about this, that sometimes we do a session, we are laughing throughout the session. Like for some reason, there's just like fun stuff coming up and all of that. We have sessions that they cry the whole session. We have sessions that they scream because it's just the sound trying to come out of them. And I tell them, I guide them through it, like, don't hold yourself. Anything that your nervous system brings up, it's the way that's perfect for your body right now to release what needs to be released. You know, sometimes you're going to have to like stretch your body so the muscles can, you know, move around and stretch and release the tension that's there. Sometimes you need to yawn. Yawning is a very common way to release this stuff because we hold so much tension on our neck and shoulders area that when you yawn, you are stretching all of those muscles. So the nervous system is releasing all that stuff that you're holding on over the shoulders and the neck area. So there's a lot of ways, like crying, one of the most efficient ways that the nervous system has to release tension. So every single session will be absolutely different than the other. Every area of the body that we are tuning, it's going to be completely different from the other. If I tune your heart, Shelly, the body might need a certain frequency. That if I tune your heart, Kathy, it might ask for a completely different frequency. And if I tune it again, it might ask for even a completely different one than the last time that we tuned the same area of the body. So it's very, very like flowy and dynamic, and it really has to do with the tuner and the one being tuned, and you know, the day, what's happening that day, where are your state of mind when you show up for the session. There's so many elements. So it is very different to each person, to each session, each time, always different.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is building a positive image of trucking by telling the story of the hardworking drivers and industry professionals who support the industry. And you can be a part of it. Learn more about TMAF and how you can join and be a part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting TMAF's website at truckingmovesamerica.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our latest channel, TikTok.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
So, what are some of the benefits that your clients have said they've gotten from this type of therapy?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons too that I wanted to get into this specific method and work with this. What you were talking about, Kathy, that with the singing bowls, they're very interesting too. Like you really feel that something is happening. But the way I look at the difference in between them is that with the singing bowls, I think that the work is more broad. You know, you come in and you have this cool sound kind of like surrounding your body and affecting your cells. And you do notice that there's some movement of energy going on. There's something that's being shifted and all of that. But when you go to do biofield tuning, we are more specific. You know, you show up with something, you know, you might be depressed or anxious, or you might have like a chronic back pain or whatever it is. And we're going to address whatever it is that you showed up. So we're going to tune the whole nervous system. We're going to deeply, profoundly relax the whole nervous system to release whatever tension, stress, whatever is accumulated there, causing whatever we are treating. And because of this specificity, it's what got me attracted to it because of the benefits afterwards. People are noticing, like one huge thing that everybody talks about. In the end, I check in with them the next day or two, see how they are doing, what they are noticing. A lot of the people, the majority of the people feel lighter, like really, like weight-wise, they feel lighter, like they are not carrying so much baggage on their shoulder anymore. Mm-hmm. And the majority of the people sleep better, which to me, I have learned through these extended researches that we were talking about, that is essential for health and well-being. We really need that sleep. So people sleep better. They notice that they are lighter. They notice that they are calmer. One huge thing also that I love of the benefits is that they notice that with regular sessions, they are less reactive to the environment. So, you know, if it was someone that used to be angry, you know, all little things would tip them off and trigger them, and they would just explode on people and all that. They notice that little by little, the nervous system releases that stuff that is accumulated there. And then the environment is the same. You know, sometimes you have, for some reason, to hang around people that do stupid stuff, but you don't get as triggered. You know, it's almost like your nervous system gets more and more used to looking at these things just for what it is, without that judgment and that trigger of, you know, becoming sad about it or angry about it or whatever the reaction is. People have become less reactive to the world. You know, the world is the same, but the person keeps that inner peace untouched. You know, the world, the things will happen, but the inner peace is untouched. And a lot of other things, chronic pain, like a lot of chronic pain in a different areas of the body, that people have tried a variety of different other things and it really didn't work. Some people with one session, they notice a huge improvement. Some people with a few sessions, they notice that the pain just little by little start dissipating and then it's gone. And if you are able to maintain sessions, even if it's like one every couple of months or something like that, you notice that the pain doesn't come back, because the nervous system is always regularly having this opportunity to keep releasing the toxins and toxicity and all this stuff that it picks up from the environment. You are always giving that opportunity for the nervous system to release it. So that chronic pain, you notice that it never comes back. You notice that the sleep stays, you know, well and healthy. And digestive system, people notice people that have digestive problems, which is very common, as I learned studying trauma healing. For people that have childhood trauma, not only sexual childhood trauma, but just trauma in general in your childhood, it's very common to develop intestinal problems, issues, you know, digestive issues, people notice that within a few sessions, 2, 3 sessions, they already notice that, their digestive system go back into balance. It's what I was saying. These frequencies are so balanced out that all the systems of the body, all the cycles of the body, they come back into equilibrium, into balance, into doing the work properly that it's supposed to be doing. And then it affects everything else that's happening that's, out of whack. It starts coming back into balance, coming back into equilibrium. So it's like the benefits are like endless. It's so many things that we hear from people. It's amazing. Some people sometimes say, I feel just happier. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Sound and frequency play such a big role in our whole body and who we are. Would you say that because we live in such a noisy world with so many different frequencies, that can aggravate some of the issues that we have?
100%. 100%. That's one of the things that I like to guide my clients on. Like my sessions are very unique because I do the biofield tuning session that I was trained to do and that I was certified and everything. However, I do bring all of the other knowledges that I have gathered throughout these years of research. So I bring a lot of knowledge in meditation, NLP. There's a lot of other things that I have done that I bring that knowledge into my sessions. So yes, 100%. The sound, the static that is out there in the environment is directly affecting us. So I guide them through trying to find ways to get out of it. If you can, you start meditating. It goes extremely well together because of that quietude, that stillness. If you cannot, at least try, to go places where it's a little bit quieter, to go to nature more often, where you can hear the natural sounds of nature, the birds, like you were talking about, the wave sounds. Sometimes you can, become emotional just by listening to it. I know I become emotional just by watching a beautiful sunset. So it's like all of this stuff influences us. It affects our bodies, our responses. So yes, one of the things that we talk about the most is to try to avoid the noise and the static that is out there in the world that is chaotic and totally influences and affects our bodies, and try to be around more natural sounds, more the frequencies that are more equilibrium, there's more equilibrium, they are more balanced, to bring that balance into the body.
Well, when you think about it, our bodies weren't designed to hear all of the different sounds that humans create. And I think the world's a lot more chaotic today, especially with all the electronic devices and everything that people have on their person all the time. They take to bed and everything else.
Yes. And I feel like we overlook these things, like the amount of detrimental effects that all this noise have on our minds and on our bodies. I think we should look more at this, more seriously at it, when we are around too much static going on out there. And I feel like to a certain point, people are just used to it. You talk about someone that lives close to an airport and someone comes to visit and say, oh my gosh, how can you, even sleep at night and stuff? And they're like, oh, just got used to it. And you do, you get used to it, but your system is always accumulating that stress of the noise, always. And it's this cumulative thing that just accumulates the tension on your system, accumulates, and then it influences our behavior. We behave in a certain way, and we have no idea that's coming from the tension that's being accumulated on our system.
There was an experience I had. There was a family member who needed to get an MRI and wanted me to go in and sit. They had a chair outside the MRI machine. And when they started that device, I could feel the magnetic vibrations, and it bothered me a lot. I was kind of amazed. And I think I mentioned something to the technician, and they're like, huh? Maybe I'm just more sensitive to that, but I remember feeling really kind of crappy for a couple days after that.
Yeah, some of us are more sensitive to this kind of stuff. There's some people that the electromagnetic field, the EDM, I think they call it, really, influences them. Like if they leave the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on, they really can feel that. A lot of people are complaining now about the 5G, that if they have a tower close by, they do feel that interference. And, I can definitely see that. I am very sensitive to the energies like that too. I can feel the energy of the client even when we're doing sessions at the distance. If there's any anxiety going on, if all the stuff that they don't bring up, I can feel it. And then we start talking about it, and sooner than later they tell me, that that's going on. So this stuff is all affecting us as well, like knowingly or unknowingly, that stuff is all affecting the matter, and they measure that stuff. You can see that the EEG, they can measure the electric waves in the brain, inside the brain. All that stuff is coming outside of the head and hitting the pads on your head so that it can be measured on the computer. On your heart, with the ECG, they can use those equipments to measure these electric fields that are around these movements. And these machines have the same. They have the field around them that some of us are definitely able to feel it.
Yeah.
And you can see how much that stuff is affecting you. Imagine the stuff that we can't even feel. We can't even notice, like, consciously, that is affecting us that way.
Oh, sure. I've even heard there's a question whether, when women are pregnant and they have an ultrasound, that can actually affect the developing baby.
Because I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's a frequency. None of these things, when you think about it, are natural.
Exactly. Yeah. All of these unnatural things are having an effect on us when we submit ourselves to it, when we expose ourselves to it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why people are so incredibly irritable today, because it seems like there's so many angry people now.
That's how we're looking at it, actually, because it's like I said, the nervous system can only accumulate so much before you get to a point where you have to explode, right? Because it gets to a point where it's going to be a heart attack, or it's going to be a meltdown, it's going to be something. And that's not from one day to another. Like when one person does one thing that's like super silly, and this person explodes on them and gets very angry and everything, it's not about just that one little thing that just happened. That was just the top of everything that the nervous system had been already trying to manage. And then this one thing that someone might say or do, it explodes, someone else's patience. But it's the accumulation of it. And definitely we look at it that way. We talk about this in the community, how we notice that people that have a method, it doesn't necessarily have to be only biofield tuning, but all the people that we are exposed to, they have a method that their nervous system have the opportunity to release the tensions and stresses and toxicity that we are exposed to in our daily lives. Those people are happier, they're calmer, they're more patient. You notice the difference than the people that do no practice whatsoever to be able to release that stuff. You can definitely tell, by the way that exactly what I was talking before, by their response, their reaction to the world.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Kathy Tuccaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry, our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
I talk about my mom taught me when I was 14 a meditation practice, and it was I had a lot of sexual assaults and a lot of very dysfunctional upbringing, like yourself and like millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a hard time dealing with stuff. And so my mom said, instead of singing Aum, to when you meditate, she taught me a word called the HU, HU, and it's a vibrational tool, I guess, or mantra that has helped me my entire life. And I write about it in my book, Dream Big. I talk about it in everything that I do. My children's book is based on the HU and based on how it has helped me, I guess, rise above
Mm-hmm.
the negativity. And there's even an app, the HU app, and where you have like 5,000 people singing that one word for 20 minutes. It really, really connects you with that inner light and sound of God, and it has helped balance me my entire life. And to this day, I sing it almost twice a day for 20 minutes. I sing it when I'm anxious. I sing it when I'm stressed, when when I just need peace, or when my heart is filled with love, I'll sing it, right? Because it really helps elevate me to a vibrational level that I want to be at and function on a daily basis, so that when I'm going to say this, when the shit hits the fan, that I'm okay, that I don't crumble, that I don't crash and burn. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in my life right now, but managing to stay above it and try and see it from a different perspective. I think meditation has a huge positive impact on my life, and I really recommend it to anybody that's really going through some difficult times. And a lot of people say they can't shut down their minds long enough to do that. I can't either. Anybody that knows me knows that I have 8 hamsters and 1 wheel in my noggin, and it's on fire, right? It's nonstop.
Yeah.
But singing the HU really helps. I don't know if you've ever heard of that word,
Yep.
or what it was, but it's like magic to me. It really helps.
Yeah, I've heard of it, and I do appreciate the mantras and the repetitions like that. I do believe that they have a huge power to help us to concentrate
Yeah,
and stay present in the moment. And I feel like
yeah,
that's it. Like once you
yeah.
learn to stay present in that moment and just keep yourself there, I feel like the mantras really help to that concentration so the mind doesn't wander. I did another one, a meditation that's called Vipassana. It's the 10-day silent meditation. You go to the retreat and you stay there for 10 days in silence. You don't talk to anybody. You don't even look at them in the eye, so there's no expressions. And you go just internally for those 10 days. We meditate for about 10 hours each day of those 10 days. So it's a very profound method as well. It was the method used by Buddha to liberate himself from suffering. It's very interesting. And the teaching, I love how the teaching of the meditations across the board, they have a lot of similarities, because it's pretty much what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
about like you scan your body on that meditation and just noticing, see what you notice and look at it from an objective space. You're not going to react. You're just going to notice and keep moving. And what happens is that you are training your mind to look at the world in that way. You are going to just observe the world from this objective place where you're just going to notice what's happening and accept it for what it is. You don't need to react. You just accept the reality as it is. Man, that's freedom right there.
Yes,
Imagine
it is.
everything's right. Everything is going on
Yeah.
around you, and you are just accepting life as is. You are not overreacting to anything and just keeping your peace. My goodness.
Accepting, yes, acceptance, serenity. Those are the things that they talk about for people to overcome addictions and any other kind of issues. And it sounds like your therapy really helps in that.
Yes, it really does, because besides the psychological part of it, the talk that we have going over everything that we are working through, there's this deconditioning from the nervous system, releasing all the conditionings that on Vipassana, for instance, they call it sankharas. That's all the conditioning, all the stuff that was just built up, that was given to us by the world, by society. That's not even true. It's just conditioning, just stuff that doesn't serve us anymore. As we release all of that stuff, my gosh, we are way more free, way happier with life as it is. Just like you said, accepting everything that comes and everything that goes, the non-attachment that's very common.
I was just going to say the art of detachment.
Yeah, there you go.
I just wrote an article about that. The art of detachment was the title.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Imagine when you are not attached to outcomes. Anything that happens, you just accept as life as is, and you have no attachment that the outcome's got to be like this or like that. You're free.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's so liberating. It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah. And it's like that. I'm just selling my house and letting go of everything that's in it. And it was very overwhelming in the beginning. But as soon as I detached myself from it and looked at these material things that I'm not bringing with me to the other side anyway, it's like, you know what? I don't need this anyway. Like, whatever. Like it now I'm free to travel. Nothing's holding me down. I'm like, take it. You want it? Take it. I'm
That's
free.
Right. Yeah, you feel a lot lighter not having all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, this is great.
Do you work with people remotely? Because I'm sure there are going to be a lot of listeners saying, I want to talk to this lady.
I do, actually all the time. So I built my practice in the Tampa Bay in the US, and I have my clients there, and I came down to Brazil to bring the method back to my people, to help other people to heal coming from the same background that I do. And I'm establishing a second office out here in Brazil, doing all of my regular clients in the US remotely. And to be honest with you, once they start doing it remotely, they absolutely love it, even more than doing it in person, because they don't have to get in the car, drive to my office, park, get to do the session, and then all relaxed and feeling super nice, have to drive back home. Depending on the time that they come to do the session, they have traffic to get back home. So doing it at a distance, we do it through Zoom, because I can use a setting on the Zoom that doesn't block the background noise. So you hear the sound from the fork from the beginning to the end. You hear the whole thing, which by the way, you don't even have to. I have clients sometimes that they want me to do it for them and they can't be on Zoom with me. So they are just on a receiving mode and I'm doing the session from here and they feel the whole thing happening, even not listening to it. But most people are on Zoom with me. They don't even need to turn on their camera. I don't need to see them. They don't need to see me. It's just the sound. They put headphones on, lay down on their bed or their couch where they feel the most safe and comfortable, because it's the safety of their own home, which tells the nervous system right off the bat to get all that stuff out because they're safe. So it is actually very nice for them to do it from home, because it's the safest place that they could ever be at for the nervous system to release this stuff. It works just as much. My teacher, Eileen McCusick, that came up with this whole method, she didn't want to do it for the first 10 years that she was doing this method. And then she's out of Portland, and she had a friend, I think he's a professor on a university in California, and he told her, we should try it, see what happens. And all the clients were asking her to try it. She's like, no, it makes no sense. And then she tried with this friend, and it was amazing. They weren't not even on the phone, and she wrote some notes and then called him afterwards. He knew the time and everything, lay down, relax while she was doing it, and called him afterwards to, read her notes and everything. And he felt the whole thing. Everything was spot on. Everything that she felt that happened throughout the session was spot on, even with him not being on the session. Because we're all connected. By now, there's enough research showing that there's no really separation. This is an illusion, right? So this connection and the intention of what we are doing gets everything to roll just fine, being at a distance. So yes, I do people all over the world at a distance. They absolutely love it. I have even recorded sessions available on my website that my clients get sometimes, and even new people get before getting a full-on session, one-on-one, and they absolutely love it. You can feel all of it. Yeah.
Where do people reach you?
So on my website, I make it easy. Everything is in there. All the links to social media, email, everything for you to connect with me. It's right on my website is Mayara, Mayara dash Souza, SOUZA.com. There is a free session there. If you send your listeners there, they can put in their email and they will receive a free session to test it out.
Wonderful. This has been fascinating. I really love this. And I had not heard of this therapy. This is terrific.
It is super, super interesting. And I know for a fact that it's 100% accurate, right? So spot on. Great.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
love it. I absolutely love doing this. The more I do it, the more I fall in love with it.
I'm hoping that the listeners, as they're driving, will maybe this will inspire them to maybe change this type of music they listen to and try something that will help them through frustrations, because the music they listen to as they drive really does affect. And I'm saying this from personal experience because I sit in equipment for 2 weeks at a time. And if I'm listening to something that's harsh and heavy, well, it just aggravates me. But if I listen, like when I'm really stressed right now, training on the dozer, I'm listening to classical music. I'm listening to something that I would never listen to, but it manages to soothe me. I have a friend of mine who's a piano player, a classical pianist down in LA, and I have 3 of his CDs. So I put them on a USB stick and I listen to that, and as well as the Hue, and it manages to calm me down. So all the truckers out there, change your tunes if it's not working for you.
There
Yeah.
you go. Thank you so much,
Reach out to
Mayara.
this fine lady. She'll help you.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you
yeah,
so much for
absolutely.
you've got wonderful insight. Thank you so much for what you're doing, Mayara. This has been fascinating and terrific. I'm so glad you could share it with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, girls. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate the platform. I love to educate people that, this is a thing and it can help you no matter what it is that you're feeling. People are benefiting from it, like from a variety of different things. So yeah, thank you so much for the platform, for letting me share. I love sharing this. So thank you.
This is terrific. Thank you.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at info@tncradio.live.
Thank you for listening to another great interview on tncradio.live. And don't forget, be sure to subscribe to our podcast of Women Road Warriors. It's free. All of the material you hear on tncradio.live, on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of tncradio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live.